So for those listening, Rocky is the CEO. He's the founder of RFC, originally Rocky Snyder Fitness and Conditioning, but I would consider him a master can I say therapist to describe you? But realistically, you are a foot and ankle specialist as like the foundation, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm known as, like, these days more and more I'm kind of known as the foot guy because there's only a few of us that are um, really taking stage, I guess. Emily Splickle, Todd Wright, Gary Ward, who has been my mentor for many years, myself. Yeah, I'm sure there's a few others, but yeah, I guess I've been kind of put into that category. I tell people I'm a movement investigator. I'm a disruptor. I'm looking for just how to solve one of the best puzzles ever, and that's the human body.
I something you said to me last year on our podcast that we sat
Mm.
down and chit chatted, and it stuck with me, and it kind of integrated itself into the way I look at the body and the way I ask myself questions when someone comes to me and there's a problem or they hurt themselves in a moment or something. It's you become this detective. What's new on your front? Give us the quick update.
Well, with gas prices the way they are, traveling sure does cost a lot. So rather than trying to go to the ends of the world and teach here and there, I've been creating online courses that are bite-sized, like less than an hour. I've got one that's lengthier, that's like 3 hours, and it's all about exploring foot wedges, and hence the whole thing about being the foot and ankle guy. I just released another one, which is all about mobility and how do you create mobility in all those joints in the feet? Because as movement specialists and professionals, we have been all about hip mobility and shoulder girdle mobility and T-spine and maybe ankle, and everyone's getting into, even wrist mobility. But when it comes to like foot mobility, we're like, oh, well, how do I do that? So I've got a open and closed chain foot mobilization course. There's one that I created a couple months ago that is posture-based myofascial release or soft tissue work. How do we restore the body back into a more balanced place like you're hoping the chiropractor does and your massage therapist does, but can you do it on the fly? And so what's the quick down and dirty way that I could spend just a few minutes to bring myself back into a more balanced place? So that one's going on, and yeah, I've got more down the pipe. That's kind of what's happening. And then this is the season for conferences and summits. So I've got several, and I think there's something pretty much every month, at least once a month, all the way till the end of September. Or no, I take that back, even October. So,
What are some of the other big ones that you're going to be, talking at?
yeah. Well, okay, so June, you and me in Chicago at Perform Better. That's going to be great. And then July is at the National Strength Conditioning Association's National Conference. The NSCA's NatCon will be in New Orleans this year in the middle of July, butting right up against the beginning of Perform Better's summit in Long Beach, which I will be kind of jumping on a plane halfway through the NSCA conference. I'll have to leave there a little early and get over to Long Beach. I'll be presenting there in July. August, there is the Fit Expo in Anaheim at the end of the month. So I'll be on a panel discussion all about biohacks. I don't know if it's an
Ooh.
overused term these days, but we'll be biohacking the system, kind of alluding to what I did earlier with like balancing out the body. It's basically, yeah, it's that kind of thing. And then in September, I will be at the American Physical Therapy Association and the National Strength Conditioning Association's Return to Play Performance
Yep.
Summit in Washington, D.C. Actually, it'll be in Alexandria, Virginia at George Washington University. And this is the first time, like, really, that two major national organizations for physical therapy and strength coaches are coming together and merging presenters. And I've been honored and invited and asked by the NSCA if I would be a delegate, so to speak. So I'll be talking about addressing and assessing asymmetries in 5 minutes or less. I got to unload. I got to unpack a whole bunch of stuff so that people can understand how to do it in 5 minutes or less. And I don't
Okay.
really want to put a time frame on it, but I know this society is all about like, oh, I had 8-minute abs. Well, I made it 6 minutes. It's like
Yep.
we're
Speed.
measuring time in microseconds instead of like days or months
Yep.
or years. Now, okay, so you got to play to the crowd and be like, okay, how can with the like 5 minutes in a training session right away, how can I get somebody in a better place that they're more balanced so that
Yep.
when they go and work out with me, they're going to be hitting everything they need to, or at least I'm feeling better about it. So that's what I'm going to
Okay.
be talking about. And then October is the NSCA's personal trainer conference, which is virtual, all online.
Hmm.
Here's the thing for most of us, and you can relate to this, is that if you own your own business as a personal trainer, traveling to conferences gets really expensive. You got to close down your doors
Yep.
if you don't have people to take on your clients, so you're not going to be making money there. Plus, you got an airfare that's outrageous right now, not to mention the hotel. And before you know it, you're out a couple $1,000s for 3 days or something like that,
Yep.
and you're going to try and go back and make it up. So they recognize that, and they want to try and help as many people as possible. And it is a very successful conference online, and most of the presenters are getting filmed ahead of time. And that Blake Brightwell and myself, another NSCA member, he and I are going to co-host the event. So
Oh.
we'll be
What is the one you're looking forward to most, and what are you presenting at that one?
well, okay. In regards to networking, seeing I will say family and old friends and friends I have yet to meet, Perform Better ranks up at number one. It
Okay.
is the greatest place for networking and sharing of ideas. I've been doing it since about 2005, so over 20 years I've been going. For the last 7, I've been presenting. And they welcome you in with open arms, whether you're an attendee or a presenter or both. And opportunity abound. They have helped share my philosophies and words better than I could have hoped. And so it was last year and the year before when I was at the Perform Better Summits that I realized that COVID had changed the industry greater than I had anticipated. And what I meant by this, Josh, is that prior to COVID, average personal trainers, once they get certified, would be in the industry for 3 to 5 years. And they'd probably leapfrog onto physical therapy school, chiropractic college, or I don't know, something else, coaching or whatever, or maybe leave the industry entirely. After COVID, once a person gets certified as a personal trainer, they stay in the industry for less than 12 months on average. So that means that a lot of these people that are coming to the conference, a high majority are people that are fairly new and fresh. They weren't there when Gray
Yep.
Cook and Lee Burton were rolling out the functional movement system. They weren't there when Mike Boyle was talking about high intensity interval training. They weren't there when Greg Rose was talking about disassociation between the rib cage and the pelvis, or when Dr. Gary Gray of the Gray Institute was talking about his 3-dimensional movement analysis performance system. They are they're not privy to that experience or
Yeah.
maybe even that knowledge. And so as we were talking and presenting, I saw a lot of people not with glazed over eyes by any means, but I began realizing that we need to kind of, in a way, I won't say go back to the basics, but we need to recover what it was that we were talking about before the pandemic. We need to get people to understand that we need to look at how the body moves. And once we understand how it should move, and then we watch somebody actually move, and we can compare the ideal to what they're presenting. And that gives us great insight and information as to what this person may benefit from. What are they missing? What do they need? What could they experience? And then once you understand the movement, then you can reach across your studio and grab whatever tool might benefit that particular movement. In fact, we could probably use a whole bunch of tools to get to that end range, that end result. And that's what I want to be talking about is let's understand basics of human movement and the basic building blocks of how we can progress and regress these actions to dial in the proper intensity, the proper stimulation to bring about a positive desired change in an individual. And so rather, in the early years, in the 90s, and when I was first attending conferences, I would come back and my clients would be like, oh God, no, you went to another conference. Because I would come back with like 6 or 7 kick butt exercises.
You
They were,
dump them all
and
on your
I put them
clients.
into
Yeah.
everyone's program. I'm like,
Ah,
yeah, this one crushed me here and killed I can barely move after this one. So I'm going to give it to my clients because it
yep.
must be good.
Yep.
Instead, somewhere along the way, it dawned on me that I needed to understand movement, because once I did that, then the exercises create themselves. So rather than going to a conference and coming back with a handful of exercises, I want people to leave, perform better with a more comprehensive understanding of how to look at the people in front of them and how to experience and look through their coach's eye to understand that I can use that kettlebell as the perfect weapon to create peace and harmony in someone's body, or I can just throw an exercise at them and create chaos and destruction.
Right. Hmm.
So that's it. Long-winded example, but
We have very similar talks in terms of having the eye-opening idea of like our industry is at some level at a precipice of change, for better or for worse. Right? When we dive into the statistics, that's 81% of new trainers quit within 12 months, and it's
yeah,
51% of gyms close within the first 5 years. Right? And so there's just this turnover, and it's curious that you say that we need to kind of revert our line of thinking, our knowledge back to pre-COVID. It's a little bit coming back to fundamentals. Um, why do you think there's been such this stray away from the foundational concepts as a whole? Why do you think you need to have your talk?
to be honest. I mean, you just mentioned how many gyms closed during COVID, how many personal trainers couldn't continue because they were non-essential workers. How many trainers took on a new career path? Uh, And then with that, there were no in-person conferences. There was
Right.
no physical connection and interaction. There was no continued education necessarily, at least in person. So
Mm.
now you've got, and the the ones that are coming up here for the last 6 years, let's just say you're, I don't know, a 22-year-old trainer. That meant that during COVID, you were sheltered at home, and it was high school. You were maybe a sophomore or a junior in high school. And since that time, when you could have realized the benefit of in-person learning, interpersonal relationships and communication, that was stunted. So now you're trying to convince a young generation
Hmm.
that there is benefit beyond the screen where you've been
Yeah.
getting all your information. So it's taken a lot of these in-person conferences until now. We might be back this year. We may very well be back to pre-COVID attendance levels at the conferences that I'll be attending this summer.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, I can tell you just from the social side of things, I have seen a major shift in terms of the personability of the trainers that I'm training and the new coaches. When I sit down on interviews, it has been a severe step backwards. Let's face it. I always laugh and I say to my team, we're dancing monkeys, right? Yes, we need to know sports science. Yes, we need to know how to fix the foot or the shoulder or get them to lose weight. But at the end of the day, our job is to entertain. It's to take people who hate doing fitness and have them enjoy it. We are dancing monkeys, and we just happen to know science behind it.
We are entertaining chameleons, are what we are,
Yeah.
because we have so many different personality types that we need to know how to connect with each of the people that come through and see us.
Yes.
And yeah, somebody said I went from butch to bitch in like in a heart rate from one client to the next. They were there stretching out or something, and they watched me transform from somebody to somebody else to meet the needs of the individual that came in.
Mhm.
You've got to know what motivates them, what excites them, what kind of environment, what kind of music.
How to
There's
communicate,
so much to it.
how to
Exactly.
actually how to actually talk to them, I think matters. Yeah. Interesting.
And think about the diversity of conferences, the diversity of information and opinions you'll find in every conference you go to. There are people that are on stage saying one thing, and then in the next hour, somebody else gets on stage and contradicts exactly what that other person presented. So now you've got a variety of information coming at you compared to the young trainers that are online. They're probably going to have an algorithm that addresses their interests and will start to feed them more related topics. So now they're being navigated by the computer, and they are going to go down a very narrow rabbit hole without looking at the broad
Right.
spectrum. That's the other part.
I've enjoyed asking this to everybody because I don't want to reveal too much. What is the biggest takeaway?
The most important tool you have are your eyes and your mind.
Okay, elaborate.
That's the biggest takeaway, because you could be in a gym filled with a whole bunch of toys and tools and everything else. But unless you know what you're looking at, and unless you understand what it is you need to do, then a bench press is just a bench press. A barbell is limited to your understanding. A cable system will only give you as much as your knowledge will provide, right? But my goal in the hands-on is to be in the big room where everything, all the products are all around. And I'm not going to limit anybody. I'm just going to say, okay, we're going to work on this aspect of movement. I want you to go and grab something you're not familiar with and come on back. And let's see if we can get a better understanding of how to use this tool to get you to the end result. Because right now you're limited in your understanding of what that glider can do, or what that Viper can do, or what that kettlebell can do. Right now, if I ask somebody to give me some kettlebell exercises, they're going to give me a kettlebell swing, a goblet squat, a farmer's carry, a waiter's carry, and a Turkish get-up.
Right. The
Right?
basic big
I
5
mean,
or 6 movements.
right.
There's no creativity.
No. But can you use it for ankle mobility? Can you use it for shoulder stability? Can I use that kettlebell for T-spine action? You know, there's a whole bunch of things that just you get the concept of the movement down, and then start to play around with, how can I progress to these tools? How can I use them? So that's what I'm hoping to get. I want them to walk away with an understanding, a better understanding of how the human body moves.
I love it. How do we see some of the courses you talked about? How do we get your information? I know you've published some books.
Yeah, I try to take my name off the door, but it doesn't come off the internet, I'll tell you that. So you just go to Rocky Snyder, SNYDER, Rocky like the boxer, RockySnyder.com, and it's got my weekly blogs there. It's got my Zealous podcast, which is all about my friends in professional sports behind the scenes, interviewing them on a weekly basis, whether they're performance directors or athletic trainers, physical therapists, or dietitians, mental skills coach. I get them all on. And so that, and then there's ways of working with me online, as well as checking out my books, and the online courses are there, and there's a calendar of where I'll be speaking and all that. So they can go there. Plus, I've got YouTube. There's a link to my YouTube channel. I've got about, I think, 1,300 videos and counting on the channel, with a whole bunch of playlists you can navigate through. Yeah, you know, if you've been doing this for a few years, things start to add up, and you don't really. And they're not all just singing puppy dogs. They're not dancing bears. They're actually legitimate, like, informative, hopefully informative videos.
Rocky, I can't thank you for being here. Thank you enough, and I can't wait to see you in about a month, man.
Honestly, man, yeah. The best part of Perform Better, when anybody asks me, it's the networking on Friday night. Yeah, the conference itself and the lectures hands-on are phenomenal, but I would never miss the network.
Yep. Well, we'll see you there.